And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great show today. We're going to talk about the National Guard coming to Chicago and ICE. But we're going to have a special report from our old friend, Ben Berquam, who is here going out with ICE to remove illegals from the city of Chicago. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Thank you. Folks, welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And first, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And I want to welcome everybody to the show. Well, folks, today we're going to talk about the Governor, J.B. Pritzker. To the American people and patriots across this country, you would think with all the crime that Chicago has experienced, that you would think that no matter what party that you belong to, that you would welcome the help from the federal government and make sure that the citizens in the state of Illinois are safe. But what we're seeing here in Chicago, the Labor Day weekend, it was over 60 shot and over 8 people dead. The weekend before, they was lying to the American people, holding a press conference, JB and Brandon Johnson, talking about how safe Chicago is, and President Trump didn't know what he was talking about. But God got a way of making things happen so the truth will always come out. So now we're in a position to where the National Guard is on its way here. A friend of mine, Ben Berquam, who will be with us later in the show, will most definitely come aboard and tell us what he's seen. He's out in the field operating with ICE as they get these illegals out the state of Illinois, because they're here in record numbers, hidden with fake IDs and all the other things that J.B. Pritzker housing can offer them to hide from ICE. But this is a prime example of what we've been talking about here at Let the Truth Be Told. We've been talking about how the American people and patriots across this country, especially Black citizens who are losing their lives, their little homes that they have. Our schools are inadequate. There's no economic development. Especially Black people are losing this war under the Democratic leadership, who hates us and despises us and deceives us and never do anything for the Black community. And in saying that, let me get my co-host in here. What's up, Randy?
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Man, you know, Chicago is going crazy, man. And since the over the weekend, we already done had another 6 or 7, almost 10 or 12 people shot already in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
And so the mere fact that Brandon Johnson signed an executive, this is what I mean, the idiocy. First, you give all the money to the migrants who are committing the crimes. You create a legal system so they can get out and be repeat offenders again and again and again. You give them houses, you give them cars, you get them a get out of jail free card, everything access to this country. You can do anything that you want. And now they have crime sky high in Chicago and probably everywhere else. But you don't want some help from the National Guard so the citizens of the state can find some resolution and some safety and security. Your thoughts, Dre?
Well, this is exactly what we're seeing in Maryland with Dakara Thompson. She was killed by a migrant on August 31st. They found her body. And you know what really bothered me about these repeat offenders? If this guy had been given his due process and been charged properly for driving under the influence, Dakara might still be alive. So people are tired of hearing about, oh, our thoughts are with the families. Governor Wes Moore came out and he said, he sends his condolences, but he is partly responsible in this because of the state's policy. He is the governor. He has a chance with the stroke of a pen, powerful influence, and getting his city council on board to change the sanctuary state policy that Maryland has. And as long as they don't, they're going to continue to see these types of things happen.
Randy? It's on you, Randy.
To your point, Dre, we got to your point, Dre, we got the same issue down here in Austin, Texas. We got DA District Attorney Jose Garza, who is letting criminals out. He let a murderer off last week, and so we're fighting to try to get him out of office. But he's a George Soros funded, candidate who's in office, just running amok, making people feel unsafe, by the way. And these are Democrat policies, and Democrats are like voting for this guy, and then they sit there and they see the results of what they're voting for, and then they want to cry after the fact. It's like, how much will it take for you to realize that this is not going to work for you, and you're constantly voting these people back into office, thinking they're going to change because they campaign on changing. So it's like, yeah, no, you had the chance. You should have did the first time around. So get out of here. But this is what we're doing. So,
but
guys, it's crazy.
That's right.
After what we've seen in the Black community from the time that I've grown up in the 70s and up until now, man, and it always has been a Democratic domain, okay? And why is it that in the Black community, we have these designated leaders? Why can't you don't see any designated leaders in the white community or the Italian community? Only in the Black community. And Black folks, listen to what I'm saying. This has been a total conspiracy against us for a long time. We got the Freemasons. Everybody you check, Al Sharpton a Freemason, Jesse Jackson a Freemason, Ben Crump a Freemason, or either they're in a fraternity and sorority. And this is the problem that Black America is having, because these organizations, these NGOs, wants to stay in the control and are definitely the gatekeepers to keep the masses of Black people under control. And that's what I was talking about the other day, is because they're trying to move away from the original whatever Blacks who was here and migrated from the cotton and the cornfields. They're trying to create a whole new situation. And that's who you see it as marching. You're not seeing the everyday person, Pookie and Ray Ray and their families, GDs. You're not seeing the real grassroots people marching, but you're seeing these installed Negroes who they put in place and the so-called leaders who are trying to lead us to hell. And that's what our real problem is. Let me play a little bit of this clip because it just bothers me, man, that all of these people who have lost their lives at the hands of illegal migrants. And is this what America has come to, that the life of an American citizen don't mean squat anymore? Your life don't mean nothing. My life don't mean nothing to them because we're just a statistic that they making money off of. And that's what I think is a huge problem with these elected officials. They figure, well, you know what? We're going to have some casualties. But they don't care about us being the casualties. But I just don't understand why or see how anybody, especially Black citizens, who are getting the worst end of this for years on top of years, can continue to vote for people in a party that hate you and who are trying to destroy you. Y'all check this out.
ICE operations are expected to increase in Chicago this weekend, with National Guard deployment also a possibility. But Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker claiming this is all just a White House plan to bring chaos and is already telling residents how to resist federal law enforcement. Watch.
But I will say that, again, part of their kind of nefarious plan is begin with ICE, cause mayhem on the ground, and by doing that, say that there's a need for military troops on the ground to protect ICE. Don't play into their hand. And if you have the opportunity, please protest, pull out your phone, video everything that they're doing, and make sure that the media sees it.
Wow.
Okay, guys. All right. Now, how does that sound? This is the governor of the state of Illinois, who has spent billions of dollars on the illegal. And the crime rate in Illinois is going crazy. You would think he would welcome ICE. Randy, your thoughts on this guy? Randy, what are your thoughts?
You know, I would have him actually charged. I would have J.B. Pritzker actually charged with impeding an investigation, obstruction of justice. I would have him charged with all kinds of stuff, and just because of the simple fact that, and inciting a riot. Because if a riot breaks out as a result of federal agents and the National Guard coming up there, then you're telling people to resist and everything else, you're inciting a riot. And so I would charge him with that. And they'd be like, "Oh man, this is crazy. You know what? Wow. What's going on here?" It's like, yeah, because we're coming in here to do a job. We're trying to protect the American people. Yahoo sitting up here telling them not to, allow this. So that's what I would do if I was the president and Pam Bondi.
Jay?
Yeah, and another thing that we're finding, Randy just mentioned that it's possible that these words can incite a riot. Well, they've already put up the riot gear. They have the concrete barriers. They have the fences around the federal buildings in Chicago. They are ready for a fight. Shout out to Chicago Goofies for actually reporting on this and showing them physically putting up the gates and the concrete barriers. They're not playing, but this could reverse for Pritzker. If he doesn't want the National Guard there, then you might not want to incite riots that could get a national a state of emergency called in your state. So he's kind of working against himself, but the rhetoric is for 2028. Sound like a strong man, try to push back against Trump. That's all that the Democrats have right now. And we're seeing in real time, this is going to happen, whether he likes it or not.
Well, guys, he's sitting back, man, on this soapbox because, and JB, I know you're going to watch the show tonight. You and that idiot Brandon Johnson, both you guys don't have a clue of what real good, honest leadership is. You will not be the governor next time. To the people in the state of Illinois, especially Black people who will be going to the polls, look at what we're showing you. This is the leader of our state. Our state is out of budget. They don't take care of the people of the state. They're doing nothing. They're coming up with, they just passed another $17 billion budget here in Chicago, okay? And I don't see how it's going to survive. They're just kicking the can down the road, and the people of Chicago is going to have to pick this up. So that right there should tell you that this type of leadership with JB and Brandon Johnson, it is not good for the citizens of this state, nor the people of Chicago, and that they have to go. Any common sense person would tell you that this type of leadership, which we see in front of our own eyes, and the fact of the matter is, he is actually fighting for the illegals who came here illegally, who are killing American citizens and raping and child abducting and gangs and drugs and everything that you can think of they've brought and they're doing in this country and walking free out the jails. And this guy, J.B. Pritzker, is giving them fake IDs. You're right, Randy. He should be going to jail, giving them fake IDs, everything to elude ICE and Tom Homan. Let's look at this clip, guys. Come on.
We're going to immediately go to court. If National Guard or other military troops are deployed to the city of Chicago, immediately go to court. So that's going to be our first line of defense, is getting a court to issue a TRO or other injunction against that activity.
That was Illinois Governor J.
Hold up, guys. I know y'all want to respond to that. Yeah, go ahead, Dre.
Yeah, he can go and do whatever he wants legally. Every single night, there's a different judge from a different state that puts some kind of injunction out there that temporarily blocks what Trump's doing. But he also has a smart legal team, and they know how to push back. And all he does is win. So
Yes.
They can do it, but it's only going to last them a few hours, a few days, maybe a week. But he's gonna find a way to get around whatever they're gonna put up.
Randy, because my thought is, how is this the governor of Illinois ready to fight? Listen, you know what? He complaining about the National Guard coming, right? During the Democratic convention, he brought the National Guard to the city of Chicago to protect the convention. So now the American people is not worth being protected.
Make it make sense.
That's what go ahead, Randy. I'm trying to make it make sense, man. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's on you, Randy.
You know, here's why. He's protecting the new voter base. He's protecting the illegal immigrants because he thinks, and the Democrats think, they can vote. And so they're like, never mind the black community, never mind the American citizens that are there already. We got this new voter base that we need to protect. I would implore the audience today to look up Tammany Hall and understand that history of bringing in migrants from, into New York, from Ellis Island back in the early 1900s, and how the Democrats brought those people in, gave them benefits and everything else, and told them how to vote, when to vote, where to vote, so they could rig elections, so they could stay in power. And the benefits of that was, hey, these migrants are like, well, I'm getting money and I'm getting this, I'm getting that and the third. We're seeing it all over again. And a lot of people don't understand that machine and it's working and how it's affecting their daily lives. They just go, oh, well, it is what it is. These people, there's no such thing as an illegal human. Yeah, there is. You try this mess in any other country, and you will find yourself not only in jail, but under the jail, if not dead, for breaking into their country illegally. So they'll think that you're a terrorist. This is activities of terrorists. Bottom line up front. So for JB, he's protecting terrorists.
and that would make him a terrorist, and he should be arrested for treason. That's basically it, because like you said, aiding, abetting, giving them money, giving them cover, giving them fake IDs, man, that goes against the whole grain of America. And so this guy is really showing his hand, and to the American people and patriots across this country, you can see right here in Chicago this type of leadership, that the city is under siege with criminal, it's crime infested. Instead of the governor saying, please come help me, we're shorthanded, down 2,000 officers, we need the help of the National Guard. Instead, he's willing to file a lawsuit to keep them from coming to Chicago. Let's look at a little bit more of this.
preparing for legal action ahead of President Trump's planned enforcement operation in Chicago. This comes as the mayor of Broadview, that's a western suburb of the Windy City, sent a letter deeming a town building as a primary processing facility for operations lasting up to 45 days. Governor Pritzker encouraging peaceful protests. I want to bring in Illinois Congresswoman Mary Miller. Congresswoman, I want to get your reaction to all of this, in particular the fact that the governor is going to take legal action because President Trump wants to help him solve his crime problem. Help me with this disconnect.
Well, first of all, President Trump is not deterred by the threat of legal action. He has been enduring lawfare for years as he tries to do the right thing for the American people. I want to say, J.B. Pritzker, why was it okay to bring the National Guard in a year ago to protect your buddies at the DNC, but you will not let them come in to tamp down crime? Sadly, Chicago is the murder capital of the United States. The murder rate in Chicago is 3 times that of Los Angeles, 5 times the murder rate of New York City, and 15 times the murder rate of Delhi, India. Unbelievable. And if one more person dies because he won't let the National Guard come in, that is on J.B. Pritzker. He is a self-absorbed and failed governor.
Interesting that you say that. I want you to listen to David Axelrod, of course, Democratic strategist, used to work for former President Barack Obama. You know, the library is being built there in Chicago, we should say, the Obama Library. Listen to his advice to Pritzker.
Be careful about playing 28 politics on this issue, because the right answer is we'll take all the help we can get as long as it's appropriate help, as long as it's stuff that will really help. Send us the resources that we need. We want to work with you. If there are if there are people doing violent crimes here who are illegal immigrants, we want them out of our city. We'll work with you on that.
Congressman, what's your reaction?
Now, guys, this is another Democrat telling J.B. Pritzker what he should be doing. Your thoughts on it? You up, Dre?
Sorry about that. My thoughts are that I think that some issues need to not be partisan. And I'm glad that he's speaking up and he's utilizing common sense to say, hey, let's figure out if we can solve this problem, if we could utilize the president's energy to solve some of our problems, to balance some of our books. They're in the red, like you said earlier today, Pastor Lowery. Wouldn't it make more sense for them to actually just utilize the forces of ICE to kind of relieve some of their police officers? That makes sense to me, but it doesn't quite make sense to Pritzker and some of these other people that just want to resist Trump.
What are your thoughts, Randy? It's on you, Randy. Can you hear? He looks frozen.
Yeah, I think he got frozen.
Yeah. But you're so correct, Dre, because of the simple fact that it's about the American people. It's not about the party. Right. It should be about how that we can make the quality of life for the American people who are paying the salaries, you know, taking care of them and all of that. That's what this should be about. It is not about what we see, because what we're seeing, man, is a country at war with itself.
Yeah.
Because as long as the Democrats continue to resist to avoid having safe cities like Chicago and New York and California, that's to me is treason. That's really treason. What do you think, Randy? Randy went out again.
Yeah.
But I think that's borderline treason, Dre. What you think?
I think that we really need to look at the laws, move away from partisanship, and work for the constituents. That they should be ashamed of themselves that they're not working for the constituents, because who are they protecting the people at the DNC from? Were they protecting them from the homeless people that they've neglected? Was that who all those forces were for? They moved them all away, but they were just like, just in case they come back, we need to have this full force here. Like, who are they protecting them from? Because like, I didn't see a lot of conservative crazy trying to, knock down walls to get in there and cause trouble. But you see a lot of crazies on the other side that are doing all kinds of crazy things across the country.
Well, you know what? That's the reason why, man, we doing this show and we do investigative work and we find out exactly what's going on because of the fact that when the DNC was here, I spoke there at the DNC that one of the, I think it was the first night, but the people who was out there that was acting crazy was the Antifa. It was Black Lives Matter.
Yep.
It was all the people that belonged to the Democratic Party who was causing all the problems. It wasn't conservatives out there fighting and marching. It was the Democratic Party. There are so many fractions of them, and they use every opportunity that they can get to be able to disrupt and make the American people think that conservatives are out there beating up the wall and setting fires to the flag. You back, Randy? Let me hear you one time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. So, but to the American people in Patriots Across the Country, we can see exactly what's going on with JB right now. Let's pay a little bit more to, because this is interesting to think that why would you, and you got to try to make some kind of common sense. Why would you want and not want the National Guard to help you with all this crime?
Quiet.
Chicago is a beautiful city with so much potential, wonderful people, but people are fleeing the city, businesses are fleeing, and I have to say, I have not heard one time of J.B. Pritzker meeting with the families of victims. Communities and families have been terrorized by the crime there, and it's obvious that he doesn't care about people. He is all focused on his presidential election.
Well, there's something else it's something Ms. Marie asked me about this earlier in the week, and I wish I'd had this answer. But Theo Hardiman, who is he runs Violence Interrupters in Chicago, and he basically says, let's all work together to fix crime in Chicago. But it's the why. Why is the city so violent? Listen to his reasoning here. He said it's poverty, inadequate housing, unemployment, underperforming schools, underfunded transportation system, disparities in pay, and he goes on. I mean, so these are issues that should be fixed by the mayor of Chicago or the governor of Illinois. So this, I think, gives us a wider idea of the failures of these politicians to keep people in Chicago safe.
But the first failure is safety, because if people don't feel safe, they aren't going to thrive. Businesses are not going to thrive. And, people just need to quit pushing the D button and voting for these people that clearly do not care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you about this. President Trump's Justice Department is moving to block a new Illinois law. This extends financial aid for illegal immigrant students, including in-state tuition and scholarships. Congressman, what is your reaction to that?
I mean, J.B. Pritzker's.
Guys, I want your reaction from that. What do you think about that? Giving them money to go to college out of he allocated over $2.5 billion for illegals to get education in Chicago. Randy, your thoughts on that right quick.
Yes, I got to run after this. But yeah, we just passed a law here in Texas banning that. And so, a lot of the undocumented, as they would call them here, kids are like, what are we going to do? Oh, my God. It's like, well, you should have, your parents even should have brought y'all in the correct way. And matter of fact, I'm on this point. If you're coming to the United States as a migrant, you should be self-sufficient, self-sustaining, and not rely on the American taxpayer dollars to take care of you. You should not be relying on getting these kind of benefits and everything else, right, sucking out of the system that you did not contribute to in the first place. Exactly. And so, I boo-hoo, sorry, but not sorry that, you're not having the ability to utilize, financial aid and all that kind of stuff because you're an illegal immigrant. Sorry. Go to a matter of fact, go to another country and utilize their system if you so much care about it. But to the Democrats out there, that are, trying to advocate for this, you pay for their college education. You take out the student loan and pay for them if you're so concerned about it, but you won't because you don't care. You only worry about having them around so you can dilute our vote. No, thank you.
Randy. Thank you, Randy. I know you got to go. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Yep. Oh, yeah. Be safe and have fun.
Have a good one.
All right. God bless y'all.
Yeah. And so that is true, and I'm glad that Randy had a chance to come because he's out there doing the work right now. I want to play a little bit more of this clip, Dre.
Can I respond to that too?
Yes, go ahead on.
Yeah. So I think Mary Miller had it right. People need to stop hitting the D button and start hitting the eject button because they've shown that they don't care about the Black community or education because they're going to give illegal aliens $2.5 billion, but we still have failing schools. They disinvested in Black neighborhoods, closed down the schools, but as soon as the illegal aliens came, they opened them back up. They had the money all of a sudden.
Yes.
So I think that a lot of these people definitely need to stop pressing the D button because they show you time after time who they really are. They don't care about the American people. The American people to them is an endless bucket of money that they can pull into and contribute to their new future voting base.
You know what? And you're so correct. I got Steve who's just sitting there now that Randy going, what's up, Steve? How's it going?
How you going, guys?
Listen, well. And you're right about that because to Black citizens across the country, when you really sit down and think about our situation, you got to know in your mind that it was all caused by the Democratic Party because we have nothing. And so this is a wake-up call for us. And I do believe the Black community has continued to awaken now and see how bad this really shows how bad the Democrat leadership is and what their major concern is. It's not about politics. This is about money. This is about power, to keep in power, to keep destroying the American way of life and get it to socialism where they tell you when to eat, when to sleep, and all the other good stuff. And this is a free country. This is a republic. This is not a democracy. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Binky?
Well, yeah, we're supposed to be a republic, but we're living under a democracy right now. We have been for quite a few years. You can tell we have by some of the politicians, and you listen to the mainstream media. Very seldom do you hear the words republic. Everything's about a democracy. Everybody's trying to destroy a democracy and Trump this.
Hey guys, I gotta add Ben in. Hang on. Hey, Ben, how's it going?
Hey.
All right. Sorry for the delay.
No problem, folks. This is Ben Burkharm of Real American Voices. Ben, talk a little bit about why you're here and what you've seen since you've been here regarding the illegals and ICE and all of that.
Well, we had a former president under Joe Biden who allowed the largest invasion in American history. And now we have President Trump who, with Tom Homan and Kristi Noem, who are undoing that. But unfortunately, you have places like this, Chicago, in particular, Cook County. You got the jail behind me right here, where you have mayors and governors who are protecting criminal illegals, and sadly, even people like the sheriffs who are protecting illegals over American citizens. So everybody, all the neighborhoods are in danger. And instead of, this is one of those irritating things. Everybody who lives in the inner city knows how dangerous the inner city is. How much the need for the restoration of the rule of law is there. But on top of that, when you add a whole other generation of people from foreign countries who have no allegiance to this country, and you throw them into communities that are already struggling, it's a recipe for disaster. And that's exactly what you have here. I've been riding with ICE and Border Patrol. I had 4 years where I couldn't ride with ICE. We were blacked out from under Biden. They basically turned them into the cartel Uber. So we did most of our work with sheriffs and police officers. And now under President Trump and Tom Homan, I'm able to ride with ICE and Border Patrol. And it's just, it's a different country now with them in charge.
Ben, now that all the things that you've seen, because you've seen this way back when you was in the jungles, when they was coming over here and everything. Now that you've seen this with what ICE is doing, talk a little bit about the fact that how bad Chicago really is, because we had over 60 people shot, over 8 people murdered over the holiday. Talk about a little bit some of the things that you have seen since you've been working with ICE.
Well, it's like you said, Chicago is a dangerous city already. And when you add 30 years of liberals and now Soros-backed DAs who don't prosecute, you've got no cash bail, you've got a lawless society. Well, then you add millions of illegals. And the epicenter for the illegal invasion, it was New York and Chicago. That's where the majority of illegals went. And basically, they got to pick wherever they wanted to go. They came in illegally, they claimed fake asylum, and then they were able to pick wherever they wanted to go. Many of them chose Chicago. And important because you already have that activist community, the foundation here, the whole La Raza movement, the idea of a sanctuary city, sanctuary state, all of that has been breeding here. It's a cancer that's been growing here in Chicago for 40 plus years. Actually, Lincoln United Methodist Church is one of the churches where the idea of harboring illegals came from, and that's right here in the epicenter of Chicago. So you've got a city that's already struggling with crime, that's struggling with a lack of policing, that doesn't trust the police in some cases, or the police, because of former corruption, or in some cases don't rightfully prosecute criminals that should be off the streets. So those guys are going back out into the streets and re-victimizing. And then on top of that, like we just talked about, you add in millions of illegal aliens who have no allegiance to this country, who come from a culture of criminality. Many of them, a lot of them, you look at Guatemala as an example, it's got a 95% murder non-conviction rate. So 95% of the murders go unsolved in Guatemala. When you come from a society like that and you get put into this community where you've already got crime as high as it is, it's just a natural tendency to continue that criminal activity. And that's what you did. You basically, what Joe Biden and Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson did was just pour gas on a fire. And now you've got President Trump coming in, and Tom Homan and the National Guard talking about coming in here. And instead of saying, yes, we need it, it's time to restore the community that we love, it's a great city, once was a great city. Instead of saying that, they're saying, no, you guys are the problem. Now they're saying that President Trump and National Guard are threatening their communities. Well, what communities are you talking about? The only thing that they're threatening are criminals. And if that's your community, well, then you got a problem.
Dre, you got any questions?
Yes, I do. So as you've been out there with ICE in LA, one of the tactics that they use to deter ICE is to have a lot of protesters, a lot of people show up and basically deter their operations. Have you been seeing that out on the beat while you've been out with ICE?
A little bit. I mean, I saw it in LA. I was there for some of the riots in LA. Most of the time, let me go from the beginning. So when President Trump won, Tom Homan got into office, they invited us out to come join them. Almost immediately, he started having leaks from both the media as well as internal people in the agencies that are, what we call the deep state. They were leaking out the information of where ICE was going to be. And when that happens, then you would have a bunch of protesters show up and try to shut them down or attack them. So the media, the ride-alongs, the embeds ended for a while because of that. They've started back up, and they're very selective on who they're inviting out. We've been invited back out with them, but they're trying to keep where they're going and when they're going there secret until, right until they get there. In part because these same people, these same activists, these same communities, the so-called sanctuary state movement, and the same NGOs that were getting paid off by our former administration to invite the invasion in, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, Jewish Family Services, all of these NGOs. They are all working to protect illegal aliens. So they're providing training courses on what you have to say, what you don't have to say. The fact that if it's an administrative warrant, you don't have to open your doors. So they're training all these people, and they're also they're also part of the activists and the protests against them. So you are seeing some protests, like here in Chicago. They're just down at the ICE facility. So most of the protests are at the facilities themselves. Okay. But when the word spreads that ICE is in town or ICE is in the community, you do have some community members come out. I've seen just as many community members come out and say, thank you guys for being here, as I've seen come out and say, anything bad or disparaging about them.
Mr. Binky, you got a question?
Yeah, I've got to get out of here. I got to go here in a minute. I got to meet a guy at the shop, but I just want Ben to understand this sanctuary city stuff, this welcoming city stuff and all that, it is it's unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
It does not exist. And just as they did with the Roe versus Wade, challenged it back in court. That's what this administration needs to do, because no state can change, alter, or create immigration laws, and that includes sanctuary cities, and it also includes them, as Rauner did in 2017, that created the Trust Act to tell the police not to enforce laws.
Yeah.
So Trump needs to get this. As far as I'm concerned, Ben, Trump needs to arrest Pigster, Brandon Johnson, for violating their oath, for obstructing of justice, and inciting violence.
I 100% agree.
And they needs to get it into court and argue just the case that these sanctuary cities, which Harold Washington made on an executive order. This is this is not even a law. How have they done this since 1985 in any other city and state that's done this and not been challenged in court? This is why this country is the way it is. We've got to hold people accountable for powers they do or don't get. And this is one power that belongs to the federal government, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. It needs to go into court, and as much influence as you probably got with Mr. Trump, you need to push him to get this into court and get this fixed once and for all.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Steve, 100%. My last point was going to be, that's the biggest problem we have right now is, when they opened the floodgates to the illegal invasion, they allowed millions in. It's very easy. It's like flowing water. The water goes to the path of least resistance. Very easy to let it in, much harder to get it out. Now it's rotting, it's festering, it's all over our country. Every single illegal has to be, outside of what the mainstream media is saying, this is not just random ICE agents going out and just picking brown people up off the streets. These are targeted enforcements. They've done investigations in every single person they're going after. Now, if they go into a home and they find that there's other people in that home that are also illegal, they're picking them up as well. But it is very slow compared to what we saw coming in. The rate of removal is nowhere near the rate of entry. And one of the biggest problems is that you've got these activist judges, you've got these sanctuary communities that are aiding and abetting criminal activity. You're absolutely right. It's 100% unconstitutional. It should be challenged in court. It should be overturned. And before it's even challenged in court, they talk about this, but they just never seem to do it. They should defund all of these cities. Anyone that's getting federal funds who's obstructing the federal government, it goes right to the supremacy clause. The federal government, as a state or local municipality, you don't have the right to undo or to challenge federal laws. It's unconstitutional. So I agree 100%. But I think there's even more that they could do. They always talk about doing it. Unfortunately, I've never seen it actually done where they actually pull the funds from these communities and say, suck on that. But I think they need to do all of that.
There's a reason why they have this oath of office to uphold and defend the state and federal constitution. There's the problem. There is no penalty, basically.
That's right.
Any of these people when they step on the Constitution and do nothing about it, there's no penalty for them. And that's why they can get by with what they're doing. So now people got to step up and control our creation. We created government. We got to control it. So, Dave, I have to take off here.
No doubt, man. We'll talk soon. Ben, I want to thank you for tuning in. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. We spoke earlier. But, your last words for the American people, my friend.
Look, it's up to this generation. We're at the tipping point of losing this nation. And many places across the country are what I call post-constitutional. And cities like Chicago and states like Illinois, or my former home state of California, are living in post-constitutional America. And if we don't get this right, if we don't turn this around in the next couple of years, I don't know if it can be. We're going to hit a tipping point. We're going to hit critical mass where it can't be undone. And you look at communist nations that have fallen, it's easy to turn communist. It's very hard to undo that. And typically, you can vote yourself into, there's a famous saying, you can vote yourself into communism, but you have to shoot yourself out of it. And unfortunately, if we don't wake up to this very soon, we're going to be at that point.
God bless you, Ben. Thank you. And I'll see you in New York next week, my friend.
God bless you as well. Yep. We'll see you there.
God bless you, America. Yep. Hey, Dre, your thoughts, man. He's right there on the ground floor. And this is what I love about being Bert Clown, man. He's the right down the earth guy. He's known all over the world for his reporting with Border 911. Give me a little bit of your thoughts while I find this next video for us to take a look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that he did a great job of breaking down what's happening, but what's going on around the country and how it's contextually is a buildup of what's happening in Chicago. He does amazing reporting, and I think our viewers are going to be so blessed to hear what he has to say. I just hope that Ben continues to stay safe, that the ICE officers continue to stay safe. It seems like he had a smooth day. I just hope that it continues to be smooth, and he can continue to report safely, and they're able to swiftly remove people without incident. And we should actually pray for them and pray that they're all safe.
Thanks, Dre, because, like I said, me and Ben have known each other for some years now, probably about 4 or 5 years, to where, it doesn't matter about the color because we all are Americans. Yeah. And he loves this country. He put his life on the line, going undercover, finding out about the illegals. I mean, he has been on the forefront of informing America about the truth. And that's why we love having him here on Let the Truth Be Told. And we're going to keep having them and keep getting updates from him. Now, I want to get back to J.B. Pritzker for a moment.
Okay.
See, J.B. Pritzker hates the hell out of Black people. And I have to say that to Black people in the state of Illinois. Let's just be frank and let's be honest. Y'all watching the show with me today, and y'all got to have some kind of common sense to know. How is it that in the city of Chicago, that the governor of the state and the mayor of the city is breaking the law of making sure illegals are being well taken care of and not the Black community? See, they get a lot of money funded from the federal government that's supposed to be coming to the Black community to rebuild it, create economics, get better schools. Every year in the national budget, people, there's billions of dollars to renovate these cities. But the problem is that's why they're waiting for the money, but they're not getting the money. JB, you're not going to get the money. Brandon, you're not going to get the money. No matter what you put into this budget, you are not going to get one federal penny. So you're going to have to take that money out of your pocket that you've stolen and give it back to the taxpayers to bail yourself out, because to the people of Chicago and the American people and patriots across this country, these governors and these mayors are using the same process, Dre. Remember, we talked about that the other day. They're using the same process to get money and then divert it to other things. Why would President Trump give them $800 million for securing crime and public safety when you've already spent $2.5 billion? JB has tried to give money to illegals to go to college for free after all of the other money with healthcare that he spent. How is it that we can continue to vote for somebody like that and they show us to the Black community that he don't give a crap about us and that we're only here as a convenience to make money off of us? Over the weekend, man, and what I'm about to show the people of Chicago, this is so heartfelt because over the weekend, there was a young man who was killed, 15 years old, behind my old high school, Tilden Technical High School, at 4747 South Union in Canaryville, Illinois. This young man was behind the school, him and other teenagers playing, and an illegal came up and shot into the crowd and killed this child. I'm going to cue this up, Jay. Check this out, folks.
My son went outside. The boys pulled up right behind our house. They shot him down in the alley. I mean, I was home. His brother was home. We found my son literally on the ground in the alley taking his last breath.
You got people still robbing, stealing, killing. Just the other day, a 5-year-old boy got killed, shot in the head. It's like it's never going to end. So if Mr. Trump want to bring these troops to Chicago, hey, bring them on. What we got to lose? You know what I'm saying? Put some fear in, let them know that they here, they want, to protect the city of Chicago. We got elderly people afraid to ride the red line. You got kids can't go outside and play. You got women don't want to walk at night alone. Them migrants came here, baby, they had everything in the whole wide world they wanted.
Give you the shirt off his back, sweetheart. But they took my little baby.
Hey, this is really a national disgrace. Welcome back. That was the mother and grandmother of Gregory Wilson III. Their 16-year-old son and grandson was shot and killed in Chicago. These parents are saying Chicago crime is now much worse than when they were growing up, and they're begging President Trump to send in the National Guard, send in their troops. But their Democrat Governor, J.B. Pritzker, and Socialist Mayor Brandon Johnson say crime is not a problem. Chicago is the homicide capital of America. Joining us now, Chicago Red founder P. Ray Easley. P. Ray, thank you so much for joining us again tonight. What do you make of what you just heard? Because the former chief of the Chicago police said that Pritzker and Brandon Johnson are afraid Trump is going to humiliate them, given how successful Trump was in bringing down crime in D.C.
I totally agree. Billions of dollars have flowed through the city of Chicago in terms of violence prevention and crime stopping. However, we still have people like poor Gregory who are shot down in alleys. I think that although crime is statistically down, we should still ask for the help because we should get the number to 0 rather than a 30% decrease. As you can see here, people brazenly commit heinous acts of violence in broad daylight here in the city of Chicago because there's no deterrent against committing the crimes, because in the Cook County State's Attorney, they plead people down in order to keep a high conviction rate, so people know that they're going to go to jail and come right back home.
This is no respect for human life. These families are destroyed. They've lost their son and grandson forever. I mean, here's the thing, P. Ray. Chicago did a Trump-style surge a decade ago to stop crime in 2016. Extra Chicago cops, U.S. Marshals, BATF agents. Crime dropped 41%. So can Pritzker and Johnson fix crime in Chicago without Trump?
I think that they could if they wanted to, but remember, this narco-terrorism is making almost $2 billion a year off of the heroin highway, which flows through the middle of the 7th Congressional District. So if we have a parallel economy that's adding billions of dollars to the streets, then we can ascertain that people are actively complicit in what's going on. Now, I'm not saying that the governor is working with the cartels, but somebody has to be making deals somewhere along the line, because we can definitely draw all of this back to the open border and the criminality that came across that border in terms of drug trafficking and human trafficking.
Well, this is something that U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, FBI director, could get on. Let's get your reaction to what Barack Obama's former top advisor, David Axelrod, has said about this. And listen to conservative political pundit Ben Shapiro. Listen to what they're saying.
I would be careful about playing 28 politics on this issue. Because
now, Dre, your thoughts. P. Ray is an activist here, and I want to send a congratulations out on her. She did a great job answering the questions. I saw her on TV. As a matter of fact, I reached out for her to congratulate her. But it's going to take a unified effort of all of us who have a voice. P. Ray, call me. It's time for us to start pulling this thing together, because we're going to have to show a united front. One person is not going to be able to do it all, but as a team, you, Mark Carter, myself, and other young Black leaders now need to really step up to the plate and start rebuilding the Black community to be able to make a difference, because we need to teach our young people. We need to lead by example. And I think that if they see us come together and we start putting the pressure together as a team in the respective areas that we're good in, I believe, Dre, once I'm the mayor of Chicago, I'm going to pull everybody together. And we're going to make Chicago a great city where people don't have to worry about losing lives and their children being snatched up when you come to this city. But it's going to take a concerted effort of us as leaders of today to be able to make a difference and an impact only if we can unite ourselves and unite our people. Your thoughts on that, Dre?
Absolutely. And there needs to be solidarity amongst the groups. Everyone, you guys are working towards similar goals. It only makes sense that you guys create this united front. But I really want to go back to the family and again, send my condolences for them losing a child. I have 4 children outside of the womb and 1 inside. So they're getting ready to be 5. But I couldn't imagine losing a child, especially losing my child to someone that wasn't even supposed to be in this country. And for them to be shot down in cold blood and for me to witness their final breaths, there is no way. There is no way. I am so proud of the family who are speaking out to the public, because I would be beside myself and I wouldn't be able to speak to people. However, as far as the policies go, we have to have better policy on crime, and that includes having better policies for our borders and immigration policy. So if we get those things right, the rest of the things will fall in line.
Well, Dre, Tilden Technical High School, where I went to school at, when I heard that, I was just heartbroken because that area used to be really good. It's Canaryville. It was predominantly white. We had to fight our way to come to school every day, okay? And now for this child to be killed, it shows that the transition of the community, blacks are living in Canaryville now, but it's still with the illegals here, and they're close. Where Tilden at is close to the Hispanic neighborhood, okay? So these black children is behind the school just walking, and all of a sudden some guys pull up and start shooting, and they killed this baby, man. My condolences to the family, and whatever that we can do here, because I'm going to reach out to see, because this is a tragedy, and the black families across the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, really all black families across this country, we have to take a look at, because I think black families have gotten so war-torn that to lose a child, Jay, like that, she's got to be dying inside.
That's right.
I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine somebody killing my child, and I go out there in the alley, and my baby is laying there dead, and I got to watch him take his last breath. And J.B. Pritzker is saying, we don't need the National Guard. We don't need police officers in Chicago. We don't need the help. This only shows you how cold, cruel, and callous that the Democratic Party is, that J.B. Pritzker is, and Brandon Johnson, to allow these illegals to still be in our country, killing our citizens, killing our children.
That's right.
And act like it's just another statistic and don't even care. JB ain't never called none of the other families. And this is why I'm telling black people, we cannot vote for this type of leadership anymore. We got to get these people out of office. This only shows you how much he cared about the black lives that are in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, because he should have been over there at that woman's house offering condolences and begging and pleading with her, because there needs to be a lawsuit filed against the city of Chicago for this. It should be for inadequate protection. The taxpayers paying money for protections, and yet he's giving money to the illegals, and our babies are dying and the streets are running red with their blood. Man, I'm telling you, black people, we can't vote for this type of leadership anymore. When we come to the polls, JB got to go, Brandon Johnson got to go, so we can get some sanity and common sense back into our neighborhoods, so we can start raising our children. I mean, I saw a little commercial the other day, a police officer talking to a young black man, And he asked her, what did you want to be when you grow up? And the child said, alive. That was so powerful. Let's take a look at this. I got another one we're going to put up, Dre, and then we're going to get out of here.
Okay. Politicians are making right now. Trump is going to win that battle all day long.
I also want to focus on the reality, like the actual things that are happening. You ask them in polls and they say, we think crime is a problem. We don't like the way Trump is handling it in the way that he is sending the National Guard. They want Trump to do more about crime. They don't necessarily want him to send troops to cities.
Let's do a reality check on that. Just hang on a second. An AP NORC survey found 55% of Americans say it is acceptable for the U.S. military and National Guard to assist local police in major cities like Chicago. P. Ray, let's back up. There have been 100,000 violent crimes in Chicago since 2020. There have been 6,400 people shot in Chicago under Mayor Brandon Johnson. So can they continue to fight Trump more than they're fighting crime in Chicago and Illinois?
They're following the Democratic National Convention's playbook, which is anti-Trump at every level. They would rather get a win against the president than actually working hard to make sure that the citizens are safe. Last week, approximately 1 week ago, an illegal from Venezuela gunned down 2 teenagers in the back of Tilden High School after he stalked them and shot them in a random act of violence. That child would still be alive if our governor and our mayor took the help seriously and allowed ICE and the National Guard to come up here and dismantle this narco-terrorism. They would not allow Al-Qaeda to exist like this in the city of Chicago. So why does the Mexican drug cartel get to exist as a terrorist organization protected by the legislators in this town? It does not make any sense, and that's why we are begging for the federal help, and we thank you, President Trump, for keeping your word to us.
Great points, great insights from P. Ray Easley. P. Ray, you were terrific tonight. So smart. Thanks for coming on. It's great to see you again.
Dre, your thoughts on that? I got another video to cue up. What do you think about P. Ray? Did a great job, but like I said, congratulations. I just think us unifying is going to make a difference. Give me your thoughts while I cue this up.
Yeah, her analysis was spot on. Why are we allowing this terrorist organization to exist in our cities? Why aren't we addressing the crime? Why are we continuously allowing 6,400 people to be gunned down? That makes no sense. How long is how long has Brandon Johnson been the governor? 6,400 is a lot.
That's well, J.B. Pritzker's been the governor for 2 terms now.
Sorry, I mean the mayor. They said under Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Well, Brandon Johnson been the mayor for 2 years, almost 3 years.
Gosh. Okay, that's a lot of people in that short amount of time. It is definitely an emergency. P. Ray did a good job in this interview. She's also running for Congress in District 7. And she understands that immigration policy is what's needed in order to shore up these problems. It's one thing to deal with the crime. It's one thing to have the National Guard. But if we have the same policies and it just so happens that the Democrat gets elected, heaven forbid, but if it happens, they can reverse everything. Yes. We can't allow that. We can't go back to where we were. We can't. We just can't. I can't go back there.
Well, you know, Dre, and I'm going to reach out for her because I want to support her 100%. We need young leaders in office today. We need young leaders who are concerned about the community. And P. Ray, I will support you whatever way that you need me to help you because that's hitting home for me. That's my old high school. That area used to be excellent, and now we have illegals there killing kids and doing all the things that we never would have imagined would happen in Caverville. So I got you 100%, sister. Whatever we can do to help you in this campaign, and because I am going to be the next mayor of Chicago, ain't going to be no question about that. We're going to make sure that we can make all the correct changes. And the most important thing for me is once we clean our neighborhoods up, we got to reinstitute things in schools and start training our children to become good citizens and restoring basic English and math and writing and all the rest of those things and restoring the shops and job opportunities for our children, teaching them about home ec, teaching them about how to become parents. I mean, social etiquette. All of those things I learned in high school, And those are the things that we need to get back to so our children can come out in this society and be productive citizens in this country again. And we have to restore that and bring all that stuff back, because right now our children don't have a clue on what to do. They don't have a clue about the government. They don't have a clue about how society operates. They're just living what they see off the internet and what they're being told by those who are trying to groom them for all the wrong things. So P. Ray, I got your back. Let's make this country, let's make Chicago good again. Now, Brandon Johnson is experiencing something right now that even some of the aldermen now are starting to step out and say, this is ludicrous, this is ridiculous, that Brandon Johnson is totally inept. And when you get your own kind that will do that, then I believe that would make some changes. But to the citizens of Chicago, now all of a sudden that these things are occurring, all the aldermen now who are coming up for election are trying to go against Brandon. Remember, Dre, I told you they was going to do this, didn't I?
Yep.
I told you they're going to turn on him. So even Ray Lopez now, one of the aldermen who are very outspoken, who was with Brandon Johnson, who also helped pass the budget, this is what Ray had to say about the National Guard and Brandon Johnson.
Now let's bring in Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez. Alderman Lopez, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
So Chicago's led the nation in the murder rate for the past 13 years or so. Is that a sign perhaps a federal surge would be helpful?
I think a federal surge would, in fact, be helpful. Even though we see our statistics are trending in the right direction, who would argue against making them trend even further, even lower, meaning less victims on the street? It's absolutely asinine to me to hear my Democratic colleagues say that we don't want more help, that we don't want federal intrusion into our city, even though we know that we are not only both relying on federal grants, but that we've always worked hand in hand with the FBI, ATF, DEA, and other federal agencies here in the city of Chicago to go after those most dangerous threats that are on our streets and in our communities. Why now we don't want them here? Why now is just a symptom of this derangement syndrome that seems to attach itself to Donald Trump at a time when we're playing this pissing match with our communities and putting them behind the 8 ball when it comes to criminal activity.
Your mayor, Brandon Johnson, signed an executive order yesterday which he says will protect the rights of Chicagoans. What do you make of it?
You know, that order isn't worth the paper it's printed on. I put that on a tweet, and I know it sent my mayor into a panic. But it's very true. We have no authority over the federal government. He was a teacher. You think he would understand that concept. What we do know is this, that rather than making all of these wild performative attempts to get Donald Trump's attention, Mayor Brandon Johnson should have taken the last 7.5 months to actually communicate with Donald Trump, to speak to the White House, to find out what we can do to assuage his political concerns as well as our political beliefs here in the city of Chicago. One of those missteps that we've seen the mayor take is that he refused to amend the Welcoming City Ordinance, which is our sanctuary laws, to allow our officers to work with our federal partners when we arrest someone who is a non-citizen choosing to engage in dangerous criminal activity. 89% of Chicagoans want that, and yet the mayor refuses to do that. And I think if we had done that back then, we probably wouldn't be in this predicament now.
Governor J.B. Pritzker talked about the potential crime crackdown in Chicago today. Let's play it, and I'll get you to react.
No one in the administration, the president or anybody under him, has called anyone in my administration and me have not called the city of Chicago or anyone else. So it's clear that in secret they're planning this, well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they in fact do that. The other thing is, you know, they ought to be coordinating with local law enforcement. They ought to let us know when they're coming, where they're coming, if it's ICE or if it's ATF or whoever it is.
Is he resisting for political reasons because he wants to be the next president?
I'm more than certain there's a part of that calculus in what he's saying. But let's be clear, telephones work two ways last time I checked. They can both take a call as well as send a call. And these two individuals, both the governor and the mayor, know how to get a hold of the president of the United States when there's an emergency. So why not use this as an opportunity to pick up the phone now? Second, I don't blame the Trump administration for not working with local law enforcement when they're doing these operations, because we have seen time and again, it's the local jurisdictions that always tip off the criminals when the feds are coming. We do not need to endanger those federal enforcement officers, whether they are the FBI, ATF, DEA, in our neighborhoods, because we know that we have some very dangerous individuals who were let into our country over the last 4 years under the previous administration, who have no qualms about killing people, whether it's on American streets or any other location in South America.
Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez, thank you very much for your perspective today.
Thank you. Happy Labor Day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Dre, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, first of all, before we move on, Alderman Lopez is amazing. I had an opportunity to meet with Alderman Lopez, and he is an independent thinker. He is someone that will look at the situation and he'll say, how is this going to benefit my constituents? When I talked to him about immigration, when I went to his office, he took the time to speak to me. And what he said is, it is more important that we don't pit people against one another. We really need people like Alderman Lopez who can think independently and make decisions based on policy and how it affects his own constituents. And there's just not enough of the people like that. And Pastor Lowery, if you're blessed to be mayor of Chicago, I would say that you should consider bringing him on as your deputy mayor, because he or governor or whatever you run for, he is someone that would definitely help. And he's somebody that's very trusted in the community. Now, I'm going to say this as a disclaimer: Numbers USA does not endorse candidates. This is Andre, the individual. And having met him myself, I just wanted to just give him a lot of praise. He is amazing on television, and he's that dynamic in person as well.
You know what? I like what he said. See, this is what the American people, what we just saw with Alderman Lopez, is how politics should be.
Yeah.
You know, I talk about Chicago politics. I grew up in a political family. And even though it was divided a lot of times, they still came together and did what was right for the people of Chicago. Even though they opposed each other and they hated each other, they did what was righteous for the people of Chicago. And that's how Chicago flourished. And so I commend Alderman Lopez. And if he's still there, when I take over in 2027, I look to work with him, because that's the type of leadership we need, to be honest and true, tell the truth about. He's actually letting people know, folks, y'all watching it right here on Let the Truth Be Told. He's actually telling the truth about the situation that we're in, and he's not supporting Brandon Johnson, even though he's a Democrat. He's more concerned about the people of Chicago and our safety and what's going on. So I look to work with him in the future, man. But that's the kind of thing we need. But I want to get your thoughts on what we just saw with J.B. Pritzker talking about an invasion. The saddest thing of that, for him to say something like that when he has already paid for an invasion, for illegals to be here, to invade our state and our city, and he's spending $2.5 billion to do it, more than that. And he's sitting up here talking about federal troops invading Chicago to protect the Chicago citizens. Make some sense out of that for me, Dre.
It's all political theater. And just like Alderman Lopez said, it's part of his calculus of running for 2028. He wants to seem like a strong man, like he's protecting Chicago, like he's actually putting in work, but he hasn't been putting in work, and it's making it harder for the people in Chicago. So nothing that he says about it being an invasion, it's nothing like that. If he wanted to collaborate and they could be trusted not to make leaks into the neighborhood,
yes,
then, you know, the government would work with them. And I see that there could be a relationship. And I don't think it's going to be the governor. I don't think it's going to be the mayor. But I do think that there are elected officials in Chicago that will work with the president, that will work with ICE. Now, legally, are they going to be able to do that? Probably not, but they might find other ways to be helpful.
Well, that's what it's going to require. It's going to require some of the political leaders to step up and really make a difference, because that's what the whole problem is, especially in Chicago, New York, and California. It's bad Black leadership.
Yep.
It's bad leadership in period. But in the Black community, the leadership is horrible. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor of Chicago, is to bring some sanctity back. I mean, to bring some integrity and honesty, and somebody that's going to do the right thing, not just for Black people, but for everybody in the city, because we are one.
That's right.
We're all Chicagoans, and that's how what Lopez was doing is how all of the politicians, the state reps and the state senators, they should be just like Alderman Lopez. They should be saying that J.B. Pritzker's foolish. We shouldn't be supporting his ideas. They should be saying Chicago should not be creating taxes on delivery and all this other stuff to try to cover up the money they stole. Good political leaders would have already kicked back against him. They would have already gotten together and impeached him.
That's right.
That's what they should have done. And if you're a political leader and your community is dying and you haven't done a damn thing and you've been there 20 years, you should have enough gumption inside yourself to know that you are a poor political leader and resign and put somebody into their office that will be able to benefit the people of the state and the city of Chicago. Dre, your last words.
Yeah, and I think that if the party is going to be successful, there needs to be more diversity in thought about policy. There's a platform, and I can tell you that a lot of the Democrats that are successful are 100% in lockstep with everything on the platform. The ones that aren't successful or are off to the corner somewhere, just like our senator in Pennsylvania. He thinks independently of the party, and he gets the job done, but he gets a lot of pushback from the rest of those Democrats. So what I'd like to see is that diversity of thought. I'd like for some more Democrats to come out and say, let's have policies that make sense around immigration. Let's lower immigration. Let's find ways to offset challenges Americans are facing from mass numbers of people coming into the country. This is the problem. They're having all these people come in, giving them benefits, but not doing anything to offset the challenges that them allowing the people to come in creates. So until they start doing that, until they have discussions with the American people and start helping them, they're going to get this pushback, and it's going to push them out of the office again in 2028.
Dre, thank you for your comments, man, and you have a great weekend, man. This is a great interview. I really love that Ben took the time out to enlighten our viewers about the insides of what's going on. So blessings to you, brother, and have a great weekend. And we'll see you soon. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show, as well as Ben Bergquam and my guest here. Listen, these are my last words. If this country is able to get back on track, and Ben Bergquam was talking about, is it too late? There is nothing too late when God is involved. These cities that are demonic with the Democratic Party, and the citizens need to be standing up, just like what we saw with the citizens in Chicago. We're starting to push back against this evil, but it's really a simple problem that could be solved. If the men and women across this country and Christians stood up for righteousness, if they stood up for the righteousness that God gave us, we wouldn't be in this condition. And so I'm telling the men and women of God, pastors across the country, who said that they took the oath to be like Christ Jesus, I would like for you as a pastor who take money, who need jets, who need houses, but you can't even get out here and support families who are losing lives of children, especially in the Black community, and not say nothing. What kind of pastor are you? I've never seen Jesus, not one time in the passage nowhere, talking about he needed money to get somewhere. I've never seen Jesus touch money. In the Bible, nowhere I haven't found it. So if you took the oath of being a man of God and you received the Holy Spirit that Christ said greater works that you should do after I'm gone and I send the Holy Spirit, if you're a man and a woman of God, to those men and women of God across this country, it's time for us to get Christ and God back in this country so we can make this country great again. God bless you. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see you. And remember, put God first.